welcome to Jessie Bear Book Club. Today we are reviewing all about History Magazine, issue number 113. And I do know I am really behind. I don't know, I just haven't been finishing reading history magazines. I've been reading an article here and there and then just not finishing them. I don't know. You know, you're just like not in the mood to read magazines. I've been reading books. No magazines though. This one was about the early life of Elizabeth II in preparation for the Jubilee, which has been. I know my idea was to do this for the Jubilee, but I didn't get around to it because I've been doing loads and loads and loads of overtime because my manager hurt her foot. So here we go. We're a little late, but it's all good. So also I love the cover. I love that like 1940s, like early 50s British style. I don't know, it's kind of my thing. I like it. It's so cute. So there was an article about Baroque art and Versailles. It was alright. I'm not a big Baroque art lover. Like, I studied it a bit in uni. It's just not for me. I don't know why. Like, the Hall of Mirrors is interesting. You know, there's some of it. I mean, it's beautiful. Versailles, of course, is beautiful. I'd love to visit it. But it's not something that really captures my imagination. I did like the little breakdown of what women wore to the court. I love stuff like that. I love like fashion. I love historical fashion. It was like my thing when I first went to uni. Baroque artists you may not have heard of. And then some more talk about Baroque art and places to visit that have Baroque architecture. Of course, top of my list would be Versailles. I've been trying to convince all my friends to go to Paris with me. I found this deal online and it was like really cheap for 4 nights in Paris, and I was like, let's do it. And nobody was up for it, so that's fun. Then we have Elizabeth II, and it's all about her early life, and I love this. Like, this is so pretty. I know it's a painting, but it's just so pretty. I really liked it. Probably cut it out and save it because, you know, I scrapbook these and make collages and stuff. And about her early life, about her childhood, about the upheaval after her uncle gave up the crown and then becoming, well, never becoming the Princess of Wales. Interesting enough, which I quite liked. Her love of doggies, especially corgis. I didn't know she had corgi and sausage dog mixes, so they're called dorkies. Isn't that so cute? Dorkies. I want a dorky. And then her famous speech to the children during the Second World War, her time in the auxiliary forces during the Second World War, her meeting of Prince Philip, and the stuff that they got up to when she was still a princess, wedding photos and stuff, how she used coupons to buy her wedding dress because there was still rationing, which is something I wrote about in my dissertation because my dissertation covered fashion and politics from 1920s until the 1980s. And I like this. This is probably my favorite picture in this magazine. It is the Queen and Prince Philip line dancing. I love it. Look at Prince Philip in his like jeans and his plaid shirt. I love it. It's so like weird. It's not what you imagine at all. Then there's a bunch of stuff about the Coronation, which I know quite a bit about because I read Lady Anne Connor's book. And then there is this article, what's his name again? Written by Jessica Leggett, and it is about Greg Jenner. And this actually was really interesting. He was he was a history checker for the original Horrible Histories TV show on CBBC, which I adore and I still watch sometimes when I'm feeling a bit down. And it was all about him and what he does, and it got me onto his podcast, which I have been listening to. I haven't listened to that much of it. I like to listen to it when I make dinner. And it is, what's it called? It's called You're Dead to Me. And they talk about things that aren't normally talked about in history. So, for example, people in Rome who had disabilities, the history of people with disabilities, the history of like people who had other diseases, the history of syphilis. I listened to one about Joan of Arc. It was really good. It's just a good podcast. It's also on BBC Sounds, but I've been listening to it on Apple Podcasts. And then the biggest protests in history, there was one about the protest for the Iraq War in 2003, and I remember that. like I was a kid, but I do remember it. I remember it was all over the news. And I remember being really annoyed because where we lived in Spain, there is about 3 hours away by car, there is an American air base, and we could hear the planes going over to refuel while the protest was going on. I remember my mum got super mad and she was all like, this isn't fair. And then we have Namir, father of Egypt. Narmar, I hope I'm not murdering his name. Narmir. I want to say Namir because I used to work for a guy called Namir, but I'm pretty sure that's not Namir. It was interesting. Like, ancient Egypt is interesting, but I find it kind of boring before the Ptolemies personally, but that's just me. I know there's so much more history and like old history, but I don't know. I find the Ptolemies fascinating. So there's that. There's also the death of democracy about Hitler, which, I mean, every single one of these magazines has an article about Hitler, which I'm just not into. I mean, if you have parents who are boomers, you've probably been made to watch 1,000 documentaries about the Second World War, because everybody's dad's super interested in it. And then there's the forgotten people of queer history. And honestly, I had read a lot about these people in other history magazines because there's been a lot of articles on this subject. So I was kind of like, I've read about this person, I've read about that person, you know, but it was okay. I kind of skimmed it because I'd read a lot about it before. This one was my favorite though. What was her name again? Mary Jones, an African-American sex worker who defied convention in the 1800s. And she wore a dress to court. I mean, she was mocked, but I thought that was brilliant. I hadn't heard about her before. I'd heard about most of the others before, but she was new to me, so that was interesting. What else is there? Moving along. The Battle of Nashville. These battle reports, I wish they just cut them out because I never read them. I'm not interested, guys. I am a consumer. Listen to me. Nah, I don't really mind that much. And then we got on to Boutique's revolution. If it had been successful, what would have happened? And I read it. I actually thought it would be a bit more interesting than it was. I was hoping for a bit more, would there be like a more German nomadic influence, or would there be a stronger Viking influence if there hadn't been a strong Roman influence? No, it just said that things probably would have continued the way they were, that the tribes would have become tribes again, that they wouldn't have united under Rome, and things would have just continued the way they were continuing. So it really wasn't that good, which I was kind of annoyed about. And then there was this article about the rarest book in the world, illustrated by this guy who was Scottish and a very, very good artist, but also an enormous racist. So that was mildly interesting. I like the bird pictures. I'm definitely going to make some cards out of these, I think. That one's so pretty. Where is it? That one there. You see it? It's pretty. So that was good. And then we get on to the book and TV show reviews. We've got the House of Gucci here. Did anybody else go and see this? Because I did, and I actually thought about making a review of it, but it was just a bit dull. Lady Gaga, she can act. Give her that. She can definitely act. But at the beginning, I found her really boring, and as the movie went along, and she became more hysterical and dramatic, I liked that, and I thought she was better acting like that. But I mentioned that to my boyfriend, and he was like, well, probably because she's actually mental. And I was like, no, I think she was good. And then there was also a review of The Last Duel. They gave it a B. I personally give it an A. If you've seen this movie, it is amazing. I thought it was so good. Like, so good. I want to watch it again, actually. I know it probably isn't for everyone. It is very rapey, not, you know, the best thing to watch if you don't like that sort of thing. But I thought it was amazing. I mean, not overly historically accurate, of course, it's a movie, but I did really enjoy it. And then we get on to the best bit of this magazine. Chocolate biscuit cake. The Queen's favourite cake. This recipe is the version she eats, and it was written by one of the chefs in Buckingham Palace, and I made it. I made it for the Jubilee. I will insert a picture at the end of this video. I made 3 layers. I made this original layer, I made a milk chocolate layer, and then I made a white chocolate layer. And it's so good. So good. My new favorite cake, and it's like no bake, so it's so easy to make. You can make it in like half an hour, and then it just needs to go in the fridge. So tasty. Personally, I like the milk chocolate the best. My boyfriend liked the white chocolate. I thought the white chocolate was okay, but the milk, I would definitely make it again. Anyway, that is my review all about History Magazine, issue number 13. I mean, it was good. It wasn't as good as some of the other ones. I think, you know, the 2 articles I liked the best were the Queen and the guy who used to write, Greg Jenner? Yeah, Greg Jenner. That's his name. I'll just double check, but I'm pretty sure that's his name. Him talking about what it was like being on Horrible Histories and what inspired him to enjoy history and how comedy can inspire people to love history, because I feel like comedy really brought me into history. Talked a lot about Blackadder, and I love Blackadder. So that was interesting. Also discovering his podcast through the article was good. But on a whole, it wasn't the best magazine I've read in a while. I think that's why I struggled to finish it, just because I got so far along and I was like, no, I'm bored. I have to force myself to keep reading. But anyway, if you like this video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I have an entire playlist of historical magazine reviews on my channel, and I'm sure I'll be making more. Gives me an excuse to buy a few more because I've stopped myself. I've got 2 downstairs which I need to start, and I was like, I'm not buying any more history magazines until I read them. So until next time, bye.